So, first of all, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us your role.
hmm So my name's Nick Carter. I'm the Director of Growth and Regeneration at Peterborough City Council.
What does that mean in
What does
effect?
that mean? Okay, so I'm responsible for, in my area actually, I've got the economy, so ensuring that we've got inclusive growth around the economy, regeneration and development, so that's physical development and the built environment, and I have planning, and I also have skills, and that's a very foresighted way for the council to bring those elements together because they're essential to ensuring sustained regeneration within the borough. So,
And if you were going to give an overview of regeneration, I realise it's quite a wide scope. Obviously, we have the document there as well. Regeneration over the next few years in Peterborough. What sort of things can we look forward to?
well, a continuation to a certain extent of what's been going before in terms of the university development. So we'll be looking to do phase 4 of the university. And Peterborough was identified as an area that was a black spot for higher education. The intervention of the university has been massive for this area. I think it was questionable if there was the aspiration of younger people in Peterborough in terms of higher education, and certainly that's been proved to be wrong because we've had I think 47% of applicants last year to the university were from PE postcodes, and this year it's standing at 53%. So there's certainly aspiration with young people in terms of the university. It's a massive intervention. It also gives us an opportunity to cluster an R&D intervention around the university as well. So when I talk about R&D, we're talking about research and development. We've developed an outline business case for research and development into hydrogen fuel technology. Part of that process has been to put the business case together and then to lobby central government for the funds. But also we're working with some significant partners. So we're working with ARU, obviously the university, and TWI, who run some of the Cambridge Science Park already. TWI have very, very good links with some of the fuel companies. So already we have interest from Rolls-Royce, BP, Chevron and Centrica in hydrogen fuel technology research and development. And ARU are very keen for that to continue. What that looks like in terms of the physical form is it would be a building with research and development equipment within it and some offices that stands around our university. And the outcome of that would be that other businesses, in terms of their supply chain, would start to cluster around that area as well. So that's a huge intervention for us. We also have 50 million or 48 million, which we've topped up to 49.5 million pounds for a new station quarter. So we'll be redeveloping our station quarter. And that's a massive intervention because at the moment, all of the entries into the city are pretty unattractive. And that sets a tone for anybody that comes here, whether they're visiting or wanting to invest. So a new station will be a huge intervention. And one of the big projects that will be on site this year is what we're calling the City Link. So at the moment, you have to walk through some subways to get into the city centre from the station. There's quite a high perception of crime and fear of crime in that area. And also the subway floods as well when it rains. So getting from the station to the city is very, very difficult. So we plan to fill in the subway and create a pedestrian access into the city centre at grade. And when I say at grade, that's at level, so you can walk on a level platform straight into the city centre. Huge intervention. The other thing is about the stations. We've got 5 million people using that station every year, but over 1 million people are doing the interchange as they travel all over the country to Leeds, Edinburgh, Glasgow, and of course back to London in 40 minutes. So we're very, very well located in terms of our transport connectivity. But that means there's a latent demand in terms of economic spend in our city centre. So if we can open our city centre and it talks to our station better, we will be able to draw some of those 1.5 million people that are making the interchange there into the city, spending money in the city, which would be fantastic for the economy. And we'll start to see some growth in the economy. And of course, that will attract more footfall and more high-profile businesses into our city centre. So that's massive, and we will start on site this year. And there'll also be some significant consultation with all sorts of community groups as we get into our final business case over the next 3 or 4 months. So that's a massive intervention for us. We also have we have the development prospectus here. It has quite a number of sites in it that are ready for developers to come and invest in. We have significant interest in that already because we've been doing some soft market testing. Soft market testing is when we go out and we talk to potential investors to review whether we actually have got those opportunities. And the market has said, yeah, these opportunities are very interesting to us. Now, the other part of what we'll start to see over the coming years is a change in demography, because the university will attract about 12,500 students by 2030, and we will have significant development coming forward. Now, what's important for our retail centre particularly is that we create more footfall that's on the doorstep. So we have schemes that will deliver apartments, executive apartments, for young couples or young families or young people that want to travel into London to work, for example. But also, our demography is showing that the fastest growing age group is around in their mid-40s, which suggests in the main that there are families starting to settle here. So an offer of family housing in the city centre would be excellent. And we have a 42-acre brownfield site which just sits opposite me here at the moment, called Middlehome. It's a brownfield site, so it's very interesting in terms of creating a great development on there, because the land is surplus to requirements. It was an old refuse tip. That's created an awful lot of interest from developers. We are currently de-risking the site, and when I talk about de-risking the site, we're looking at access arrangements, what needs to be spent in terms of reducing or getting rid of the toxic materials that are in the ground because it was a refuse tip, flood mitigation, etc. And then we'll be taking this to outline planning over the next 18 months, which will mean we will secure a much higher value from the marketplace than if we tried to dispose of it now. And the reason for that is because if we get rid of as many unknowns about that site, it helps you to negotiate a much better price. So that's a great intervention for family housing. And then in terms of apartments, we've been looking at the TK Maxx building, which is now surplus to requirements because we're delivering that project in 2 different locations, the Vine project, which I can talk about a bit later on. And that will be developed for about 270 executive apartments with a restaurant on the roof as well. So you're starting to see the profile, the typology, when I talk about typology, the different types of accommodation that will be available in the city, becoming much more diverse to meet the needs of our much more diverse community that is starting to develop here. Because remember that Peterborough is the second fastest growing city in the country. By 2030, the projections are showing that we'll be at about 255,000 residents. So we need to meet that need.
And you were saying about the Vine as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit more? Again, we're not sitting so far away from where that's going to take off soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Vine project is the flagship project in the Towns Fund programme. The council secured £22.9 million worth of Towns Fund from the government, and that has been match funded by the private sector and education sector to about 55 million. So we have 8 projects that are operating there, and the Vine project is our flagship project. It's a £13 million project. Initially, it was going to go into the TK Maxx building, but the economic climate has not been friendly to us in terms of refurbishing that building. So we've now relocated into 2 different locations. One will be Central Library in the north of the city. And remember, the north of the city is where we've got our highest levels of deprivation. And regeneration is about breaking those cycles of deprivation. That's what we're trying to do here. So to refurbish our library and put a tech offering in there in terms of internet accessibility for people that might not have it, flexible workspace for small businesses that want to set up and start flourishing in the city. That offer is going to be there, and the library also will also be modernised as well. The second part of the Vine project is to create a food hall, so something for the nighttime economy really, and we're going to be locating that in the goods shed, which is just to my left here actually, on Fletton Quays. If anybody knows Fletton Quays, there are 2 brownfield sites that have been left after the development of the flats here. There is a planning application forward for the mill, so that's been taken care of. And so the council has decided to take control of the goods shed, which is the final piece in the jigsaw, and we'll have a food hall there. And one of the reasons we made that decision is because we also have a bridge project that is in our Towns Fund programme as well. It's a £6.5 million intervention that we're making. And the bridge will go in across the river from the embankment, and now it has a proper destination, which is the goods shed, which will be a food hall where families and young people can come. They can operators that will be there will be independent food retailers, so it gives an opportunity for young entrepreneurs. But it means you can sit in a communal dining hall and order different food around the same table and have an evening out with your friends and family.
Excellent. Now, something we haven't mentioned is North Westgate yet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Peterborough people are often quite cynical about Westgate because it seems to have been going on discussions around that for a long time.
Absolutely.
So what's going on there, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, can we guarantee that it's going to happen?
That's an interesting question. I get asked that by the press quite often as well. Yeah, the background to you probably all know, but I'll give you a quick synopsis of the background there. The majority of the site has been with a landowner for about 27 years now. There have been three peaks in the development cycle in the country and the economy since then. And they've had two successful planning applications. For whatever reason, that development has not come forward, and it looks like it's unlikely to come forward in its current form. So the council is currently exploring ways of using its powers of intervention to bring that forward. We've been scheduling the site, so we know what all the ownerships are, and we've costed that in terms of how much it might cost to assemble that site. And hopefully I'll have some news for you after the election on how we're going to take that forward.
Right.
It's very important though, because it's a priority site. It sits opposite our station. It's one of the key access points where people are going to be walking out of the station into the city centre, so it needs to be an attractive environment.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier on you've done some research into whether investors are going to be interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
That's going well. You said earlier on. You said that there's a lot of interest around the city in various locations for them to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I was in a similar boat when I looked at Peterborough. Someone said there's an opportunity to come to Peterborough. My background's working across London for the last 30 years, and some of the very, very big developments that happen in London, not least the Olympic Games in Stratford and the Greenwich Peninsula and the Royal Docks. So I had a look at Peterborough and the opportunity for development, because that's what interests me in growing the economy here in an inclusive way and breaking those cycles of deprivation. Now, when I came here and did my research, I was amazed at how this is supposed to be overlooked in terms of its potential to grow. So I have been bringing significant developers and investment companies, pension funds, etc., to the city for about a year now. We've been doing tours of our opportunities around the city centre. And we're very lucky here because all of our development sites in the city centre are within 15-minute walk of each other. That's very interesting for investors because there's city centre amenity already here for any developments that they bring forward. And I've been really, really buoyed by the response that I've had and the reception I've had for Peterborough. If you take people into Cathedral Square and then show them around the city, it certainly changes their perception of Peterborough. And that is starting to filter through on a national level now. We have people contacting us now. We don't have to contact them to come and have a look at our opportunities.
Excellent. So that's, I guess the question next is, I said about people being sceptical earlier on, perhaps, of some things. Is there anything that people of Peterborough can do? Be about being more positive, like selling the city almost. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been, many of the places I've worked at, even though they have social problems, the people that live there and residents there are very proud of where they live. And I've not found that in Peterborough, actually. And I think there's been and I don't know why this is, but there seems to be a sense of running the city down and looking for the negatives rather than the positives. I mean, we've put this development brochure out because it shows some of the positive things that are happening here. Because if you take it, for example, we've retracted about £85 million worth of government grant into this city, and we have projects that are coming out of the ground, like not least the university, and you will soon see that at the station quarter as well. So my message for Peterborians and for people who work here, as well as people who live here, is it's incumbent on all of us to talk very positively about our city. Our it's a great city. When I bring people here, they think it's a hidden gem, and I think people need to recognise the great things that are happening here and that they live in a really, really great place. Now, we do have some social problems like everywhere in the country, and we need to address those, of course. But yeah, the assets here, I mean, we've got the Lido, the cathedral, the university, a brand new station quarter coming, new developments. We're bucking the trend at the moment. We have a development going up in the north of the city at the moment. There are cranes here. That shows a healthy city, in my opinion, when there are cranes up, because the economy is moving. So yeah, my message is talk positively about Peterborough, and Peterborough will improve as a result of that.
And you mentioned the university, obviously something to be very proud of. This is just kind of a weird question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you think enough people are aware that it's here? Do you think enough Peterborough people have sort of got hold of it in their minds enough, do you think? Because
well, I think that is an interesting question because I have had to persuade a number of colleagues who I work with in partner organisations who know about the university, who've never actually visited the site and had a look at what a fantastic place it is. And don't forget that university is University of the Year 2023. It's an award-winning
Yeah.
university. It's brand new. There's a massive opportunity for local people around that university. It is going to raise aspirations of young people. Hopefully should stop some of the lost generations that we've been suffering from,
Yeah.
who've not been coming out with the skills to go into skilled employment and highly paid employment. And I would encourage anybody just to get along there and have a look at actually what is happening at that
Mm,
university. It is phenomenal,
yeah.
just in terms of what it looks like. If you get the opportunity to walk into reception, you will see the buzz of young people who are learning in Peterborough. And people, I remember I said that there's 53% of people that are from PE postcodes applying there. That means there's nearly 50% that are coming from outside of Peterborough who will become ambassadors for Peterborough in the
Yeah.
future. But they're coming here to learn. I mean, who'd have thought that about Peterborough 10 years ago, 5 years ago? It's transformational.
Yeah, and they've got the right principal. Ross is great as well, isn't he? So
Absolutely. I mean, we work so hand in glove as partners with the university at the city council and also with the combined authority. And as you said, there's some very talented people that are at that university and making sure that it's award winning. So,
hmm. Okay, final question. Where would you like to see Peterborough in 10 years' time, 15 years' time?
I would like to see Peterborough becoming a serious place to invest, a metropolitan area. What we've got set out here is only a phase one of the regeneration of Peterborough. There's enormous potential here to grow this city. I would say that growing the city, my strategy would be for the future that we grow it east-west along the river and north-south, and we protect our cultural heritage in the centre of it. And I'd like to see the city grow, become more aspirational, and certainly much more ambitious than when I arrived here, because I think that's another thing that we've been lacking in Peterborough is the ambition. It is possible for Peterborough to become a serious contender in the national economy, and a very, very attractive place to come and live, set down your roots, have a family, and for your family then to go through university here, to settle and have families here as well for generations to come. So that's what I would like to see happen in Peterborough.